Hey guys, it's Kuma. Thank you so much for all your feedback on my videos. We're already a fourth of the way to 1,000 subs and I couldn't be happier. You guys keep giving me the motivation to keep bringing you quality videos, so today I'm bringing you guys another video that I think you mouse and keyboard players will enjoy. Today we're going to talk about the keybindings for the longsword. This video is not going to be a guide on how to play the longsword, but instead use this video as a starting point to make the weapon feel as comfortable as possible as you begin to learn it. I received a request to make this video, so I equipped the longsword and completed a few hunts, and I found a few awkward buttons that could use some changes. Now the longsword has a lot of simultaneous actions, and in order to simplify this weapon, I wanted to try and make these simultaneous actions be on singular buttons rather than multiple. So press start, go to keyboard configuration and create a new profile for the longsword. Let's start with the first change. The spirit blade by default is the R key. I'm changing this to mouse button 4 and we have a conflicting keybind to change, so let's just delete the simultaneous action Y plus B. The one we just deleted was our fade slash, which is normally executed by pressing left click and right click at the same time. This one is super easy to execute, so there's no need for it to be on mouse button 4 by default. So why did we remove spirit blade from the R key? R is a keybind that requires us to use one of our movement key fingers. Normally, if I have to just tap the R button once and quickly return to my movement buttons, this would be an OK button to leave our spirit blade on. But unfortunately, spirit blade needs to be pressed multiple times in order for us to raise our spirit level. And not every monster is going to let us just land multiple uses of this skill in a row for free. They might decide to attack us and interrupt us, so we need to have our fingers on our movement keys ready to dodge. So because this key is very important to us and we will be pressing it a lot during combat, I decided to move it to mouse button 4, where we can press it constantly and still have our fingers on our movement keys in case we need to dodge anywhere. Now just like in my insect glaive keybinds, I like to use the V key near my spacebar for any type of dodges. With the insect glaive, my thumb could dodge on the ground with spacebar or vault up in the air with the V key. This is something I wanted to incorporate to my longsword gameplay. I experimented with both Special Sheath and Foresight slash on this key, and Foresight slash was the winner for this keybind. So bind V for your simultaneous action right trigger plus B keybind, and scroll down to the display keyboard shortcut and change that from V to Alt. Then scroll up and disable the Alt key from our focus mode press once button keybind. You can now use Alt to bring up your shortcut display for your consumables instead of V. Not much of a drastic change here. So now my thumb is in charge of the regular dodges on the ground and the fancy longsword dodge, the Foresight slash. It's an easy button to use and landing it perfectly fills up our spirit gauge. Now remember how we took off spirit blade from R, which left R as a free button to use? Or so I thought. Apparently R is fine to leave as a keybind for our special weapon action, but the moment we bind R to one of our simultaneous actions, we get a conflicting keybind notification. R is such a great button for us, so I scrolled down and saw that the conflict we have is press R for our mounted weapon finisher. We don't normally mount monsters often as longsword players, so I swapped the mounted weapon attack from R to F, and I think of F as in finisher. Now with that out of the way, we can scroll back up and make our simultaneous weapon action right trigger plus A, our R key. This is our Special Sheath. Now when we tap R, we go into our Special Sheath and we ready ourselves to counter a monster's attack. So because we get into a stationary stance, this R key does not interfere with our movement like the spirit blade did. So now I just think of R as in ready myself to counter. Helm Breaker I also managed to put on its own button as well by keybinding it to our Q key. But we have two conflicting keybinds to fix in order to make this our Q, and I think it's no big deal to change these other buttons. Not once in my entire 200 hours of this game did I ever use the Q key, so it surprised me to know that we have two buttons on Q already. So let's change our simultaneous action right trigger plus Y to Q, and scroll down and delete Q from our select scout flight notification while aiming slinger move down key. If you have multiple objects in view while you have your slinger out, you can press Q to cycle to the next object and collect it with your slinger. I never used this button once. Now keep scrolling down to your sacred controls and change the switch sacred to manual while mounted from Q to caps lock. Now I don't really ever type to others in this game, so I don't mind having this button on caps. Now if you do type to others in this game and notice you are typing in all caps, this is still a safe keybind to use because pressing caps will still just make your sacred stay in place instead of auto moving to its next target. Now with these two actions fixed, we have a good button for our Helm Breaker that also does not interfere with our movement keys, since we really don't spam it back to back. You really only want to use it once you've reached max spirit level. Lastly, focus mode on toggle for this weapon is hit or miss for me. I haven't played much with the longsword yet to know what I prefer. If I go into Special Sheathe while focus mode is toggled on, I do like that I can move my mouse to angle my character right for the follow-up attack. But this is not really a big deal, and I don't mind having to press down on mouse button 5 instead of toggling focus mode if I need to make micro adjustments to the way my character is facing during a Special Sheathe. These were the only buttons I changed for longswords, and they make the weapon feel much better to play, and I hope they also make sense to you guys. So let's go over all of our buttons now so you guys know how to execute every longsword skill on mouse and keyboard with these key bindings of ours. Left click is your overhead slash and crescent slash. Right click is our rising slash and thrust. Left click plus right click executes our fade slash. Mouse button 4 is our spirit blade. With enough of our gauge filled up, we need to keep pressing this button to execute our spirit round slash to level up our spirit level. Holding mouse button 4 after any attack begins to execute a spirit charge, which can be released once fully charged to execute spinning round slash in order to level up our spirit level as well. However, we are missing out on the damage we can get by executing our other spirit blade attacks. This is just another way to increase spirit levels. Mouse button 5 goes into focus mode. Shift while in focus mode executes focus strike as long as we focus strike a wound. While focus striking a wound, you can hold any direction on W, A, S, or D to finish the focus strike in a given direction. Q is our spirit thrust, which doesn't do much when we don't have any spirit levels. Once we have at least one spirit level, pressing this executes a spirit thrust that follows up with Helm Breaker. Note that if you press this button accidentally and don't want to use Helm Breaker to waste your spirit gauge, you can press your consumable button or the E key to sheathe your weapon mid-air and land without executing a Helm Breaker, saving your spirit gauge. If you're in the last spirit level where the gauge is red, pressing Q again after a Helm Breaker will execute spirit release slash. You can also choose to follow up after a Helm Breaker with Special Sheathe or a Foresight slash instead. R readies us into our Special Sheathe, but only if we press this after any attack. From here we have a few seconds to choose a follow-up action. You can roll out of the Special Sheathe with the spacebar. You can press left click for the I slash, which if you land this, it begins to fill your spirit gauge over time. Or you can press mouse button 4 for the I spirit slash, which if executed correctly will counter the monster's attack and raise your spirit level by 1. V is our Foresight slash, which you can use to perfectly dodge a monster's attack. If timed correctly, you will max out your spirit gauge. If you don't time it right, you end up losing all of your gauge, but remain in the same spirit level. If you do manage to land a proper Foresight slash, you can follow up with the mouse button 4 to execute your spirit round slash and go up a level. If you are doing this when entering your red spirit level, you can press mouse button 4 again after a spirit round slash to execute spinning crimson slash. And that is all of our buttons for the longsword. I hope you all find these to be extremely helpful to you all, and please leave me feedback if I missed anything. Again, I can't thank you guys enough for your continued support, and I hope to keep making content for you guys across a variety of games coming out in the future. If you're new here and enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing or leaving the video a like. I appreciate it a ton. Thank you guys, take care.